Welcome to the Behind the Scenes Evolve podcast, where we are still chatting up with Anthony, and we have some questions. We want to talk a little bit more, pick each other's brains.
Well, he had a question.
Anthony has a great question. So, Anthony, you want to go ahead and ask what you just said? Repeat your question.
Like when we were signing off there, Greg had mentioned something about like dating again, and I just wanted to know when he felt that he was ready to go out there, because he said, have something to offer someone and be a great partner to somebody. And that stood out to me when he said that, because I don't know if I'm there yet. I mean, I'm looking around and I'm like, hey, she's kind of attractive. Let me kind of say hello. But am I personally ready? So I just want to get your take on it as,
When did I start dating? And describe what you would say dating, like going on more than,
like dating as in relationship-wise, not just
like let's go to dinner or one night stands or
a sex buddy or something. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Okay.
That's a great question.
That is an awesome question. I went through a stage of whoring around in the very beginning.
You little man whore.
Yeah. Well, I did. Well, it was like revenge, I guess. I don't know.
And that is really good that you mentioned that. Like, what is your motivation right now to be jumping to dating? So, like, when you first got divorced, Gregory, like you just said, I'm going to revenge date right now.
I didn't date. I just had hookups that they weren't paid or anything like that. They were just girls that I knew.
Okay, thank you for the clarity.
Usually they worked with me.
I wasn't hiring prostitutes.
No, I actually lived with one of them. Her and her mom. I rented the room and
friends with benefits.
I had several friends with benefits.
So when did you feel like you started really wanting to, like, his question is like really that I can contribute something valuable to this person and we could have something longer.
So like him, I buried myself in my job and my children, or my children and my job.
Right.
And then when the whoring around got boring, which didn't take very long,
I'm sure. Yeah.
I was ready for a relationship. But I started trying to do things right. And
what does that mean?
So I started being religious and going into church and I didn't want to find a girl that was going to leave me. I wanted to find a girl that wanted to stay. And so I figured church was where you find good girls,
Oh, good.
Well, like I said before, that I started dating a girl while I was at Orkin after I finally recovered from, I worked for Orkin for a while and down here and, or not down here, I was down in Florida. And so I started dating this flaky girl then. So it probably was about a year after the divorce was official that I
felt ready to like get back in the game.
No, well, yeah, I wanted to date, but I wasn't ready for a wife. I was no way I was going to ask anybody to marry me. I was just I was looking for a girlfriend, and I knew I had kids, and that would be a difficult venture. But at the same time, my daughters were beautiful and still are. They are absolutely
He hasn't actually
beautiful.
seen your daughter, so he's not saying yours is not.
No,
Anthony.
I'm not saying. But everybody says their daughters are beautiful.
His
but
daughter's
damn it,
adorable,
my
too.
daughters were they are damn good looking, and so I mean modeled kind of thing.
They were models, actually.
They were actually model, and my one daughter was. Well, she's pretty proud of it. I am too. She was.
Oshkosh.
No, well, that was the younger one.
Don't get too sidetracked though. Stay focused.
We're on a sidetrack mission here.
Oh, right, but Anthony actually wants to know
She was a Hooters girl. That was what she was.
Oh, Hooters was one. Yeah. Oh, great. But
anyway.
But like, when do you feel like, okay, so you played around for a year and a half. You just didn't really want anything too serious. When did you feel like I'm ready for serious?
Well, I had bought a house in Orlando. I started dating a girl that was an executive at a big corporation, real estate corporation. And
the relationship was serious?
I thought it was. I let her meet my daughters. Oh, that was bad. Jessie, oops, sorry. My older daughter, cut that out. My older daughter ripped this, and she was young. She ripped this girl. I mean,
it's hard when you have to introduce them to the new person.
Just snubbed her bad. Like, and he didn't have to say a word. And so he just ripped her apart. Didn't say a word, but just held onto my hand through the whole. We just met for pizza or something. It was bad. But anyway, I found out this one girl was absolutely. She gave me this gift, and I found it. Yeah, I'm still carrying it. She lied to me, so I couldn't.
Oh,
yeah. And
sorry.
She was deceitful, and I just. She deceived me with a pottery gift she said she made, and I found it at freaking
Pier 1 or something.
Pier 1 Imports. I'm like, you didn't make this shit. It's right here for $15.99.
So back then, there was no dating app. So like
No.
Anthony's experienced the dating apps. We've talked a little bit about that, and crazy.
I don't know if I could. If you and I ever, if you died or something like that, I would just be. I don't know.
You'd hire a prostitute?
Or just Pornhub. I would, and one of those new things that get you just, I don't, yeah, we won't go. I don't need,
yeah,
I don't want a relationship. I just want sex.
Well, but like, so again, you still haven't said what year, like, when do you feel like you've...
I started to want
something serious,
but it was so hard to find something. Like I said, I went the church route, and first, that didn't work too good for me. I had probably 3 or 4 kind of serious relationships, but they weren't, except for one girlfriend she was my secretary at Sears. Yeah, her.
So you got serious, but
yeah, I got serious, but it never was sexually serious. Actually, we were friends, and her daughter and my daughters were really good friends.
I feel like, though, like, I can say, like, because he shared some of his story with me before, that, like, he wanted to do what you said in the episode that you mentioned, like, I want to be a good dad, and I want to be, like, working on myself for my future person as well. Like, I feel like you didn't really reach that point until you moved back home, you lost your house, everything, like, your life kind of crashed a second time.
Yeah.
And then you came home and started working on yourself, and we share this, and Anthony, we did our own, like, how we met story is one of the episodes, and he shares how while he was back home and rebuilding his life at 33, of just, like, his little cousin who was in his teens gave him this, like, how to be a great husband course. And you learned a lot from that. And I think that was kind of like where you're at now, Anthony, of like, I'm working on myself. Like, I think that sounds like to me when you share your story, Gregory, that's where you really started becoming like, you know what, I'm going to work on me and work to be this great husband so that I can do things better this time around. And that seems like then we met shortly thereafter.
Yeah. During Orkin, I got offered a job in Orlando, and I left West Palm and moved to Orlando and left Orkin, and that's where I bought a house. And
like, you were trying to establish your life.
In those 3 years, I actually helped start a company, and I bought a house, but I financially wasn't
you just
smart.
crashed, like, we're spiraling.
I spiraled for whatever reason at that time. I did, and I lost the house, lost my job. I actually called Orkin, and they hired me back, but they made me pay. They liked me a lot, and he actually told me I'm gonna make you pay for leaving
me.
So I had to go in the armpit of the company for a little while and be a grunt. I found myself one time, like you were talking about being in the air. I was on this beach house in Palm Beach. It was a 2-story or like a 3-story mansion, barrel tile roofs, and we were hauling up 300-pound tarps or 100-pound tarps, going up to trying to tarp that for termites. The wind took it one time, it's like a sail right out in the ocean. I'm like, all someone had to do is be caught in that, and they're dead.
You're dead.
And I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm going downstairs. I'm going down the ladder.
Never got on a ladder again.
Never. And they were putting us up on the roof by a crane. Rather than a ladder, we hop on and these guys are hanging on like they were nothing. I'm like, oh my god, no safe. We didn't have any safety equipment.
This was long ago. Yeah. So let me ask you, Gregory, what advice would you give Anthony about dating and about trying to get back out there? Dead air. I'm gonna put cricket sounds right here.
God, that's like, what advice?
I mean, I still want more kids. Like, originally, I wanted 3 kids with my ex, and honestly, I feel like I'm being robbed of my kids'
of that
life.
Yeah.
Like, right now, she has me as a weekend dad. That's the only time that she would agree to me seeing my daughter. And it was even less that she wanted me to see her. She only wanted me to see my daughter 4 times a month. The lawyer got me up to 8 times a month. So, and even then, that's still not enough for me. I'm trying to get her at least to 50-50. Like, I want my daughter. That is my ultimate goal. I want to see my daughter. I want to be a father. And I don't feel that it's right for her to just say, you know, our relationship didn't work out, therefore you don't get to be a dad to our kid.
Well, right now, my advice to him would be he has no really business, and this is just advice. You can take whatever. Don't focus on your daughter and getting the divorce to a place where you can agree to it. The negotiation. It's a business break.
Disillusion. It's a disillusion of marriage, like a disillusion of a partnership.
Your partnership, your business, the Anthony and I forget X business agreement has been torn. And so you're going to have to come to a place, and everything has to be negotiable, unfortunately. And it's just like when I had to buy out my business partner, we had to negotiate
everything.
Your generator, no, I paid for that. It got crazy. Where I ended up having to give him whatever. You're going to have to do the same, but it's business, and you're going to have to keep, if anything, emotions out of it.
It's so hard.
And that's as hard because it is. Your emotions have been attached, and now they're being ripped apart. I mean, we watched a movie last night talking about an entanglement. When two people two particles, energies entangle one another, there's no getting them apart. Now they've created a new entity.
And, which you guys have. You've got a child together. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I know you're in Florida. Florida has really good rights for the father these days. Not like when I was going through divorce. You didn't have anything. You didn't get shit.
Yeah.
I was a week. I got every other weekend.
Yeah.
And then when after the, and this was my instance. I don't know how other people's, after the official in writing stuff is, the reality sets in where you realize she's single. She needs you to babysit her kids. You need her to babysit the kids, and it becomes
a little more
shareable.
Yeah.
My ex and I became probably better communicating, though our communication was not so good because of a lot of things. But we helped each other out with that in the very beginning. In the end, it was crazy. But
yeah, I mean, still. So what he was sharing his experience of just like I feel like I got robbed from being a dad right now, and like he was sharing what he wants forward.
But and be encouraged. I felt that same very thing, but yet I have a 21-year-old son that my new wife. We've been married over 25.
It'll be 25.
25 years. I mean, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it gets there. And well,
what?
I don't know. I'm trying not to use names, and so.
Oh, well, you can. I mean, I can blurt out the names.
Well, I forget.
I can beep it if you have something.
My ADHD just kicked in. I forget what I was saying. So.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, so like I asked Anthony at the end of the podcast episode what advice he would give for others, and you kind of shared that like light at the end of the tunnel. Keep going. Keep putting into yourself. What advice would you pour into Anthony tonight, that you could say like, hey.
When it comes to the advice of the divorce part, just like I said, don't take things personal. and fight for your right for the child, for sure. I mean, I don't know if I fought hard enough for mine. I didn't have the money to. So.
And the laws were different.
30
years ago.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And
as far as dating?
Dating, yeah, I don't know what I would give on that, but be yourself.
That's good. Yeah.
And the one thing that I learned is, I think we were talking about in our situation, I was going to be okay whether you were not going to be with me or not.
Love yourself enough that you could be single if it had required it.
Yeah,
like
love yourself enough that
you ain't gonna settle, dude.
Don't settle, right? And put boundaries out, and just you said take the stewing time and use it as evaluation time. What I could do better, what I did bad, and admit your faults, and that's to ourselves. That's probably my one of the things that I did a lot internally to help me heal was whatever irritated me with that person, there must be something internally inside of me that I need to deal with, because I'm taking something personal and it's irritating me. So I have taken something. Why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? So
why is this causing
a reaction? And usually I've found that it's some childhood trauma shit that I didn't even know I had. Like, mom spanked me on my ass, or someone told me I was this, and you think, wow, that's
still affecting me.
That affected me all this time, or you built a scab around that wound, and therefore you've been protecting it. Sorry, I don't know if that was advice. I was just rambling. I've also smoked a lot of weed right now, so.
I think that's great advice. Yeah, go ahead, Anthony. What do you think?
I think that was good advice. I mean, just trying to be patient and work on myself. Because I keep seeing stuff like marketed towards me as like you have to attract what you want and go after what you want, and you have to be okay, like you said, like, hey, I'm gonna be all right if this works out or not.
Yeah.
And not relying on somebody else for your happiness, and then realizing, what do you have to bring to the table for somebody else that makes you a good partner?
Yeah.
And be confident with that. I mean, that was...
know that what you bring, and that know your worth and your value. Don't undersell yourself.
I think I think partnerships are attracted to that kind of confidence. That's not arrogance. It's just they hold themselves in high esteem, but they're not arrogant. Those types of vibrations, I think, are a key.
Very attractive, yeah. So I have a question for both of you before we wrap up this behind-the-scenes extra bonus material. And Anthony, I'll ask you first. Like, what are you doing right now? First, let me ask the first question. Do you feel lonely sometimes?
Oh, definitely. I mean, yeah, there's definitely those moments where I'm like, it'd be nice to just have someone to talk to about my day, because, that'd be nice. And then, my parents... left for a trip, and I came home from fire school the other day and realized that the house is empty, and I was like, I fucking hate this.
yeah. So let me ask part 2 to that question. How do you handle that? Because, there are so many lonely people in the world. And some people are still married or partnered or living with someone and still feeling lonely. How are you coping with the loneliness?
I kind of just bury myself in my hobbies. I'm a big nerd, so I've got tons of shit that I do. Like, I have my road bicycle that I work on. I've got video game. I read. I've got, models that I work on. Porn does come into play.
Exactly right. Gotta love the porn.
Married, so.
Right.
But yeah, just trying to find stuff to keep me busy and not be lonely.
Yeah. So Greg, I have the same question for you. Like, obviously, yes, you would say yes, you've experienced loneliness. You were sharing some of that. What did you do to combat the loneliness?
When?
When you were in between when you were divorced and not really remarried yet, you might have been dating or just wanting that serious relationship. Like, what did you do to combat the loneliness?
So I had a lot of friends. That's how I combated with having friends over. My house became bachelor party, or actually not just
bachelor pad.
Bachelor pad. It was like I had roommates that I rented out rooms to, but I was too caring because I let them go without paying their rent. So it was
geez.
Yeah.
So people were using it. These aren't friends.
No, it's like the day I quit smoking pot. I remember because I had to get drug tested for work, and everybody was like, they all had their pot, and it's like they wanted me to come. And like that was the first day you guys ever had pot. It was the day that I quit
every other
smoking.
time you provided
every other time I was the one buying
so
it.
I feel like there is a little bit of a difference here with both of your answers. Like Anthony's sound like they're self-improvement, where yours sounded like you were just burying your head.
I buried my head till I crashed and burned, and that's when I lost it.
Right, so then you crashed and burned. So in the time before I met you, when you were working on yourself. What were you were still lonely then. What did you do?
I was even more lonely then, because then I had my friends were gone, and I was trying to be religious, so I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking. So my friendships were all these nerds at church. and I remember the one church I went to, they told me that I couldn't get married again or couldn't have a wife because I got divorced until she died. I'm like,
oh hell, I'm out.
I said, wait a minute, I gotta find a new church.
Yeah, you gotta wait for that partner to die, and you guys are only in your early 30s or 20s, late 20s. Yeah, no, that's not happening. But I would say, I started meeting you around this time. We were not dating; we were just friends.
That was when I decided to focus on, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, like that. You started taking. So I mean,
where Anthony's at, it took me seven years to get there.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah,
and then
it took longer.
Right when I got there, it was very fast.
Yeah.
Because I realized,
this whole time I could have been improving myself and sped this process up. Jesus.
But you know what? It could take Anthony 7 years just to work on himself to get to the place where I sped through. Who knows? It could.
Yeah, we're all so different of how we heal and what we need.
From that point till now, I've been healing and still healing.
Yeah.
So I've made my progress.
And I want to say this too, to you, Anthony, you don't have to be a perfect person before you meet your next person.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Greg and I have really, in the last 5 years, done the most healing that we've ever done in our whole lives. And we've been married almost 25 years. So I think it's just been, you work on so much, or as much as you can. You just always be working on you and improving what you can and celebrating what you're doing. And then that person comes into your life and they're an asset to your growth, not a hindrance. And that doesn't mean that we've never fought or we've never had these moments where it's what did we do? Are we sure we're good for each other? But somehow that tenacity, we both had, where it's no, I'm not getting divorced, because I came from my father divorced 2 times. I was your daughter bouncing between homes. I hated it. I wasn't going to do that to our son. And then you were divorced twice. So you were no, we're not, no matter what, we are freaking figuring this out. So the tenacity, that determination, like you said, where in the episode, I thought we would fight this out together. She gave up. I'm grieving that. There is a person that will fight with you, and you guys will grow together. You don't have to be a perfect person first.
No.
Excuse me. But
you're making me out of Hoobastank song.
What'd you say?
You're making me think about a Hoobastank song.
Okay, so I have no idea who that is.
No. The first line is, "I'm not a perfect person," and there's far too many things that they have to improve themselves, and
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think though, when you're not looking, that's when love comes smacking you in, and I wasn't looking for. I was done. I thought I mean, of course I'm looking for attractive
You're always
women.
Thinking about it, but it's not your radar.
When you and I first
met,
I could not understand why I was even remotely attracted to you. You weren't my type whatsoever. I mean,
yeah.
And I'm not yours. So.
Right. Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, I think we were both in a place where we were working just on ourselves and just no, I'm not going to, I had just broken up with who I thought was going to be my husband. and devastated. And then Greg and I were just, slowly became friends, and then quickly became best friends. And then a year later, like, I think we were married. But yeah, we were on that path of like, I got to fix myself. Like, I can't focus on you right now. But we were just such good friends along the path.
Well, we were actually reading books that fixed ourselves together, and it was like,
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that was a really great question, Anthony, of just getting a guy's perspective. Did he answer it well? That's the question I have. Like, do you feel like you got a good answer?
If you need to ask me again, I get it. I'm not going to be offended. So if you didn't get it,
he has ADHD, so he might have gotten lost. So, did you feel like you got any kind of answers?
I feel like I got multiple answers, like things that I've heard before, and you did give me a couple of good answers to think about and consider. I'm like just trying to be patient though is the thing, because I thought about it today. I'm like, I don't want to be an old dad, but if that's what it comes down to, and I'm having a kid at 40,
right?
Whatever. Like,
let me tell you, that's the fun. Oh my gosh,
you were 35, 37, 38. I can't even remember when Joshua was born.
Yeah, but when I was 40, that was when he was 10, and we were out.
No, he wasn't 10. No, he wasn't 10. He was much younger.
Oh.
So yeah, Greg does have, because his first marriage, he was younger and had the 2 kids. And then when we married, and we're so much further age apart, we're 14 years apart. So he's older than me, and like, yeah, I was 23, but you were like 34, 35 when he was born. But I mean, we have friends who they're having kids in their 40s now. I mean, and that's kind of that's not abnormal like it would have been a decade or
all the
2 decades ago. I mean,
parents were my age. I mean,
yeah, so who cares, Look at the movie actors who are 60 and 80 having kids, But yeah, being patient, it's hard no matter who you are. It's not just you're single and it's hard to be patient and you're going through all this and it's hard to be... Life just is hard to be patient, all of us. But getting that external reminders and support and, you're not in this alone. Like, we're all human. We are all going through the similar things that have the same root feelings, even though the experience might be different. But we're human. We're all going through this stuff together and having the highs and lows.
I just keep trying to tell myself and like play it off and laugh it off as like, hey, I'm a good-looking single firefighter dad. Like,
and I told you, listen, there's firefighter calendars. You keep working out, and you're gonna be on one of them.
He was a photographer. I was thinking he could take the pictures of the firefighters. He knows how to do.
Yeah, you could get your own calendar going, Anthony, if you're a photographer and a firefighter. All right, so before we close up our behind the scenes here, anything else that's like on your heart or mind, Anthony, that you want to share or ask or contribute?
Nothing that I can think of right now. At the bottom of my old-fashioned glass, so...
We are. Yeah, he's out of alcohol, Greg's out of pot.
I am not out of pot.
Oh, okay, you're good then. And I haven't had any food, so I definitely need to find some dinner here in a minute. But thank you so much, like, just getting to share your story, and like I said before, being this transparent, being willing to be
nice meeting you, for sure.
Definitely nice meeting you too, Greg. Like... Wish we would have met sooner at the library in West Palm.
You got an advantage on me. You know what I look like. I have no idea what you look like. So.
Yeah, send me that speakeasy picture again, Anthony.
Yeah, I want to see that.
All right. Well, thank you, audience. This was a great behind-the-scenes episode with Evolve and our guest, Anthony. And I just hope that, if you're out there feeling lonely and frustrated, impatient, discouraged, you will take some great tools away from here and be able to apply them into your own life. So until next time, thank you. And Greg always says it, like,
comment, subscribe,
and share.
Until
next time, be evolving.